Hello and welcome to the Walking Talking topic on Surds and Indices, question number 4 with me, Mr. Barton. Right, we've got all sorts going on here. We've got something that's nothing to do with Surds and Indices to open it up. Then we've got a nasty Indices, then we've got a nasty Surds. Right, so we best get cracking. Express 0.435 where the dots on the 3 and the 5 as a fraction. So it's a classic recurring decimals into fractions question here. Now I like to do these by first writing out what I've got. So let's call it x equals 0.435. Now I've got a dot on me 3 and me 5, so they're the ones that are going to recur. 435, 35, 35 all day long there. Okay, so that's me x. Now I need to make it so I've got the same thing after the decimal point. So I think I'm going to have a look what 10x's are equal to. So if I multiply this by 10, I think I get 4.35. 35. Oh, geez, it'd help if I could write threes. 35, 35 all day long. So that's 10x's. Now, if I then multiply that by another 10, I would get 43.5. Now, that's not actually what I want because I don't have my 3535 after my decimal point. So, in fact, I'm going to go for 1,000 x's. So, I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 1,000. So, 10, 100, 1,000. So, I think that's going to give me 435.35, 35, 35, 35 all day long. And now it's looking good because now if I subtract these two things from each other, I'm going to end up with the same, with a nice thing on the right hand side. So 1,000x take off 10x's, I think it's going to give me 990x's. And then if I've got 435.35353535, take off 4.35353535, my things after my decimal point are going to cancel each other out, and I'm going to end up with 435 take off 4, which I think is 431, if my maths is right. And then to finish it off, I've got to divide both sides by 990, so I'm going to get x equals 431 divided by 990. Quite a tricky question, that one. But there you go. Right, let's get down to a bit of surds and indices now. That was your little warm-up. Look at this one. Express 100 to the power of minus a half as a fraction. So you've got to know what the minus means, and you've got to know what the half means. So the minus means reciprocal. So rewrite that straight away as 1 over 100 to the power of a half. Okay, so that 100 is to the power of a half. And then what does the half mean? Well, we talked about this in video 1, I think it was, that the number at the bottom there is the root, the number at the top is the power. So that means the second root or the square root. So that's 1 over the square root of 100, otherwise known as 1 over 10, or a tenth for that one. Okay? And then we get down to some lovely surds. So what's going on here? Given that f equals root 2, g equals root 5, and h equals root 10, find in their simplest form these. And it's 3 single mark questions. So fg divided by h. So f is root 2 times by g, which is root 5, divided by h, which is root 10. So when I'm multiplying surds together, I can just multiply the numbers. So root 2 times root 5 is root 10, divided by root 10. And if I've got something divided by exactly itself, I'm just going to end up with 1. What about this next one? Fg, so that is root 2 times root 5 plus root 10, which is h. Well, root 2 times root 5 is root 10, so I get root 10 plus root 10. Now be careful here. Don't be flipping writing down root 20 or anything like that. Imagine that was x. X plus x would just be 2 lots of x. Root 10 plus root 10 is just 2 lots of root 10. Done. And finally, f times h, that's root 2 times root 10. Multiply my surds together. Root 2 times root 10 is root 20. And are you thinking, right, I'm done and dusted there? Well, not quite, because it's finding its simplest form. So can we simplify that surd in any way? We certainly can. We can split that up into root 4 times root 5. Root 4 times root 5 is root 20, but the advantage of that is root 4. 4 is a square number, so that's 2 lots of root 5, which is about as simple as it's going to get. So that question there opened up with a bit of recurring decimals into fractions, moved beautifully into a bit of negative indices, and ended with some surds. What more could you want?